Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, this is our lecture number 3 on leadership and leadership theories. As a matter of fact, this would from here on we would start a series of lecture where chronologically I'll let you know how the concept of leadership evolved. I'm Dr. Ayaz Muhammad Khan, Director Division of Education, University of Education, Lahore, Pakistan. While getting over the historical overview of the leadership concept, you got to keep one thing in your mind that leadership or the study of leaders or leadership is a constantly shifting terrain, reflecting the complexity and diversity of perspective and position. I mean, different researchers have studied this thing in different perspective. Some of them thought that like great man theories, or someone said no, there should be some particular traits uh, in a leader. Similarly, some thought no, this is the matter of a behavior of leader and subordinate. And then we have novel researches on leadership theories like Bernard Bass presented transformational and transactional theories. Dear students, many questions arise while we think of leadership. I mean, just brainstorm for a little while and tell me the answers of these questions. What do we expect from leaders? How do we understand leadership? Leadership, what is our leadership conceptualization? Who is leader in institution? Being leader or becoming leader, what is the difference between it? How leaders can be developed or whether it can be developed or not. Then you might go through different leadership theories, models, and leadership leader in a particular context. In our lecture number 4, we'll be studying the evolution of leadership, and you know the first theory, which is called as great man leadership theory. uh, this theory was of the opinion that leaders are born, not made. We'll get into it and see whether what are the factors that led most of the people, especially in early 18th and 19th century, to think that great men are born and not made. Similarly, we'll also get over trait leadership theory, uh, which actually may be very much close to the great man leadership theory as well. But they believe that leaders there have got those certain traits and the ability to influence a group to become a leader is owing to certain traits. So we would see how does Stodgill describe those traits and what is the list of those traits. Our lecture part 5 would be on behavioral leadership theories. Dear students, you might be thinking, what does it mean? So let me tell you that this is quite opposite to the trait theory or great man theory. Actually, in the trait theory or in great man theory, we used to believe that leaders are born, not made, but they are quite contrary to it, and they believe that great men are made rather born. So in it we would be getting over Blake and Morton's managerial grades and McGregor's theory X, Y, and I'll try to cover the theory Z of William Uchi as well. In our lecture number 6, we will be covering participative leadership style, where we would get over Levin's leadership style and Likkert's leadership style. If you ask me what is the crux of this leadership style, as in great man theory, leaders are born, not created, and then the other one that there are certain traits like self-confidence, uh, due to which a leader can be uh, seen. And then we went through some of the theories like participative. that now believe that people are less competitive when working for joint goals. Lecture part 2, which would be actually lecture number 4, this would cover participative leadership styles, in which we have Levin's leadership style and Likkert's leadership style, and then situational leadership theory that emerged from 1960s and were quite famous up till 1990. You would get over Hershey Blanchard leadership model and Room and Yorton normative model for leadership. In our lecture number 7, we would try to cover situational leadership theories, and in it, you would get over Hershey Blanchard leadership model, which is very, very important. And then you would also get over normative model of leadership. Now, what does this situational leadership mean? Situational leadership actually means that effective leaders depends upon a wide range of situational factor. I mean, there are certain situational factors that help in arising a leadership among leaders. So, in our lecture number 8, we would be covering contingency leadership theories. Now, what does this contingency leadership theory mean? Actually, it states that there is no one best way to be a leader. One leadership theory may work well in one situation, while in some other situation it may not work well. So we'll be getting over Fielder least preferred co-worker theory and house path goal leadership theory in it. Dear student, in our lecture number 9, we would be covering transactional and transformational theories, which remain quite popular for a longer period of time. Let me tell you what is transactional. Actually, it works through chain of command, and people and believe that people are motivated through reward and punishment system. But when we look at transformational leadership style of Bernard Bass, uh, it is of the opinion that people follow leaders for inspirational and having great vision. In this lecture, we will be getting over 21st century leadership theory, which are quite different, and the most important of one is J.C. Maxwell's leadership thoughts that have revolutionized the whole leadership arena. Similarly, we'll be getting over authentic leadership theories and some of the, servant leadership theories. We would try to cover it in lecture number 8, 10, and 11. So, dear student, when we look at the evolution of the concept of leadership theories, uh, we see that there was a gradual flow of ideas, and based on those ideas, empirical evidences were collected and theories kept on formulating. I would request you to look into that 12 minutes uh, video on YouTube. Uh, the title is Historical Overview of Leadership, and that is actually written by Dr. N. Donner. When you get over it, keep writing question in your notebook so that I may answer at the end. Dear students, in our previous lecture, we went through some of the leadership powers and authorities. And in this lecture, we would see what sort of skills are needed to become a good leader. So, behavioral expert Robert Coates had identified that the leaders primarily use these three skills: uh, technical skills, human, and conceptual skills. So we'll get over it one by one. Initially, we get over technical skills. A technical skill is to have knowledge and be competent and proficient in a specific work or activity. For example, the use Excel and know how to implement macros is an advanced technical skill. To drive a 300-ton truck is also an advanced technical skill. Similarly, suppose you are a boss and like principals or director in the university. So if some director or principal has got doctorate or postdoctorate degree in that particular area, so he would be considered technically very sound. Our second skill is human skill. A human skill is one that enables you to develop the ability to work with people. I mean, the more interpersonal skill you have got, the more you show empathy, the more you will be liked by people. Suppose being a leader, you are in a position to put yourself in others position and then make decisions. It means you have got those human skills. So these abilities are the one that we recognize as the one that helps us to get along with people, to communicate and work with your team, crew and associates. Whenever we talk about leadership, the first ability that is required by a leader is actually that he or she must have vision. So, conceptual skills are based on your vision. Let's see, a conceptual skill is one that enables us to understand and better decide the actions and measures that has to be taken in a particular field of work. You, being a leader, should be in a position to observe things well, be very proactive. The more proactive you are, the more sound you are conceptually. So let's see some of the evidences from the study. Three skill approach by Cards in 1955. He conducted a study. The higher someone was in the organization, the less technical skills were required to fill the position. In the same manner, more conceptual skills are required. On the other hand, the lower the position in the organization, more technical skills and less conceptual skills were required. A very interesting observation from the diagram is that human skills are always required no matter the level or the position in the organization. I mean, you got to be a very good human, whether you work in top management, middle management, or supervisory management. But if you are working on a top management, though it may be possible that you don't have those technical skills, but conceptually you got to be very sound. But in the middle management, you need both things. But when you look at the supervisory management, you got to be very technically sound. So all the supervisors who are usually at this level need to be very technically expert and human as well, though not conceptually very sound. Now, you have gone through the powers and authorities of leaders, and then we went through some of the skills required by the leader. Now, let's see what are some of the effective traits that need to be the part of leaders. Although there are no more specific characteristics that can define the leadership qualities in a person, most researches, these are the crux of most of the researches that believe that these are or should have been the part of a leader at any level. They got to take initiative, ambition, desire to live. If you don't have desire to live, if you don't have this trait in yourself, you won't be able to become a good leader. Then self confidence, analytical ability, knowledge, process, technology, industry. You got to be creative. If somebody asks me, I would put it on the very first one, and the flexibility. Dear students, though we have read different things in previous slides like leaders, powers and authority, then we talk about leaders' skills, and now you can see that leadership is also known to be a particular behavior. So, if we look at behavior, we see that Ohio State Universities and Michigan State University, they have conducted a lot of studies to show that leadership is actually a behavioral phenomena. Similarly, you might have heard the name of managerial grid and Scandinavian studies. They attempt to determine what effective leaders do by identifying both the behaviors of leader and effects leaders' behavior has on subordinate on productivity and work satisfaction. We have broadly described about leadership or leader in general, but let's think about what do we mean by leadership in education or educational leadership. So, what is educational leadership? Is it a science, art, or a philosophy? If you just look at it, the definition of some of the people who used to say educational leadership is especially difficult, especially challenging, and especially moral, because it is not bureaucratic in its essence. The purpose is to produce more leaders who would lead the world. Educational leadership is a science, an art, and a philosophy. Greenfield used to believe that because what we do, we prepare future leaders in educational institutions. So it is a science because we got to be following a systematic way, an art because if we have in ourselves those skills that are needed or traits that are needed to become a leader, we would be in a position to do that thing. And a philosophy because everybody thinks in educational setting as per his or her own context, and everyone's leadership philosophy is different. Then leadership is not and cannot be a science, it is a human and practical art. So some of people think like that as well. Educational leadership is a form of philosophy in action. So what I would request you to write one page, that what do you think of leadership and what is your basic idea. This is end of our today's lecture. uh, Young leaders, you know that unless you ask your as many questions as you can, you won't be in a position to understand or pick the things well. So I would request you to write down as many questions as you can so that I may answer in order to clarify your concept of leadership. Thank you very much for listening my lecture so patiently.